our formal.
Oh, sure.
Yo, welcome to episode 141 of the EasyPeasy podcast. I've got a distinguished guest here today called to Liberty, one of the finer members of the WTF Forum, if there is such a thing. Welcome on, man. I assume if we can use your first name on the forum, you won't mind me using it here either.
No, it's
so
totally
what's
fine,
happening? What's happening, Liam?
Just I went to pour myself a cup of coffee. This is what's on my mind. I fucking poured a bunch of chunky milk into my cup, and I was like, "Fuck."
Oh, gross.
Yeah. So I told you I made a quick run. I needed some cream after that. I was like, "Fuck."
See, when you said it would give you just enough time to put cream in your coffee, I assumed you were making a masturbation joke.
Fair enough. I don't think I would need 15 minutes. What would I do with the other 14 minutes, 57 seconds?
Hey, well, you got a creative brain. I'm sure you could come up with something. I was just listening to your episode about capitalism. I can't remember the guy's name, but it was cracking me up, dude. Connor. Yeah, it was cracking me up when you're like talking about fucking whether or not you'd rather have pancreatic cancer or AIDS. and you just go, yeah, well, it's not like I have sex anyways, so I guess I'll go with the pancreatic cancer. I was losing my shit, bro. I feel your pain, like it's tough out there for a single anarchistic podcaster.
I don't say the podcaster part. You can hear the vaginas drying up in the room when you say that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just say I have like a meeting, like, oh yeah, I got to go to a meeting 6 o'clock every Sunday or every other Sunday.
Yeah.
There's
something to be said there as far as withholding certain details if you are on a date. I tend to just let my freak flag fly, right? And it hasn't worked out for me so far.
I was actually on my way. I was like, I remember you telling us the story the last time I think that we probably talked on in this format. Like some girl did the old Irish goodbye.
Yeah.
Do you ever like get your satisfaction from that situation, or did she not realize like what that was? Like, did she realize, oh, that was kind of rude, or?
Oh, I told her it was rude. Like that
okay.
that night, like I texted her, I'm like, where'd you go? Like, what the hell? She's like, oh, I went home and went to sleep. She texted me at like, a couple hours after, like she had took a nap or something. And texted me back at like midnight. And I'm like, you went and took a nap? Like, okay, like whatever. And I told her, I was like, I just think that's kind of rude that you would let a guy buy you dinner and like buy you drinks and hang out for 3 hours, and then all of a sudden I turn my back and you're fucking gone. Like, yeah. I did. I gave her a little bit of attitude, but whatever. It's not, there's no satisfaction to be had there. It's just kind of like, oh, well, all right. You're welcome. Like,
yeah, I was
never.
Maybe somebody would have like, apologized for their actions, but
oh, hell no. People don't do that.
Has it right. Yeah. So I know I'm not trying to talk over you. It's been a while since I've done this.
Go ahead. What does Faceless have right? You tell me.
Well, you see, when you kidnap a gun bunny and you keep them in the basement and feed them likes, they don't run away like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Just cut through all the bullshit, go straight to kidnapping.
Yeah. Pretty much.
Pretty much.
Can't run away with their feet in your mouth, apparently.
His whole stick is fucking hilarious, man. Like the whole meme about like chasing women around parking lots, like I don't know what's so funny about it, but it just is funny. Like I was thinking about this just a few minutes ago. A friend of mine sent me one of those memes that have been floating around where it's Nicolas Cage and I don't know the other guy, but the one I'm talking, where like Nick Cage is like looking all concerned and the other guy's just got a shit-eating grin on. And You know the one I'm talking. I'm like, I almost think that Liam embodies that second character pretty well. Like the free, like just cracking up at how awful things are, the dark humor. Like I really had a lot of fun whenever you've been on the forum. We've missed you the last couple. But yeah, that dark humor, man, it goes a long way in times like these. You know, it's like you can either ignore what's going on or make fun of it or go crazy. You know, one of the three.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you saying that.
Mm-hmm.
That other guy in that meme is Pedro Pascal.
Thank you. Yeah.
And actually, I believe that scene is from the movie The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, which is a movie about Nick Cage being the best actor on the planet.
And it's a fucking funny movie, man. Yeah.
I haven't seen it yet, but I love Nick Cage. I just thought
yeah,
I haven't gone out and seen a lot of new movies. So
that was the only movie, that and the new Top Gun are the only two movies I've gone to in like the last couple of years. And it was funny, the Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, or I think that's what it was called, something like that. It was just like a day I was working, and you know, sometime like mid-afternoon, you know, weather came in, it started raining real hard. And it was kind of like at this weird time where I could either hop in the truck and sit in traffic for an hour on my way home, or I could go to the movies and like kill some time and drive home after rush hour. So I went and saw this movie, you know, all by myself, like a loser, as I do. And
I see all my movies alone too.
Yeah, you know, whatever. If there's one thing you can do by yourself, it ought to be go to the movies, you know. As long as you're not fucking rubbing it out in the back row.
What? You're just gonna fucking shit on all my hobbies now?
Yeah, dude.
What I do in the privacy of my public theater is my business.
Yeah. But no, that was a good one. It was a good one. And speaking of, you know, Top Gun, the new Top Gun movie, when I went and saw that, dude, I was so fucking stoned. Like I don't remember any of it. Like I remember enjoying it visually, but I'm like, I totally didn't remember the movie. So I actually just rewatched it last night. It's not bad, man. It's not bad. Some people shit on Top Gun, you know, sure, it's statist propaganda, but it's pretty fucking badass at the same time. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I heard that movie was really good, and they did like a pretty good job of just generally keeping like a lot of modern shit out of it. It was basically like, here's the bad guys, here's the good guys. They're gonna fight in jets. That's it.
Well, they didn't even really give you a bad guy per se. It's more like there's this hypothetical, like, you know, they don't even get specific about like what country it is or anything. It's like there's this uranium enrichment plant under a rogue state actor's control. Like that's all the information you get as far as plot. Like there is no fucking plot except that they have a, you know, impossible mission or whatever, which seems to be Tom Cruise's whole thing. You know, he likes impossible missions, so might as well stick to the brand. But no, I watched it last night, man. I genuinely enjoyed the hell out of it. The cool thing about that movie is like apparently they used 0 special effects. Like it's all legit. All the flying, all the explosions, it's all practical effects and like shot from the cockpit of these F-18s. And you know, as much as I am an anarchist, it's kind of like that piece of military hardware, the F-18, you know, the freaking aircraft carrier. Like, if there's anything our government does that is impressive, it is the military. Obviously, it's totally glamorized in that movie, but you gotta at least respect the prowess of the military. There's no doubt.
Oh yeah. Well, dude, there's a whole fucking There's a lot to unpack there. I will say, I think that the lack of plot in that movie is due to it being apolitical, because like in the 80s, you could just say, oh, it's Russia or it's China, but with like recent tension, it's like, not this time.
Right.
We'll make it some like vaguely Eastern European dude or like Eastern European country, and that's it.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sort of the faceless, nameless bad guy, which, you know, we Americans just love to have a faceless, nameless bad guy, ideally with a towel on their head or something.
I was going to do a 9/11 bit, dude. I was going
to. Yeah. You mentioned that right before we went live. So what was your plan again for the listeners?
I don't know. It was very half-assed because like I work nights generally, so I kind of got up early anyways, and then I was planning on it, and then let's do this, and which is great. I'm just like not on all cylinders, but I was thinking like maybe I went back in time and I rigged the election for Al Gore to win it, and the Twin Towers are still up or something like that. You know what I mean? Because
we could have played like a whole like we're in an alternative reality kind of situation here. The towers are still standing.
I was just fucking about.
Yeah. I feel like this is kind of WTF territory, but that whole Bud Light commercial, man, with the horse, and they're like, remember the 9/11. Like, it's like, dude, like that's not cool, man. Like that commercial was already uncool because you're clearly like trying to pander to blind patriotism, but then like at the very end of the commercial they're like, remember the towers, and it's like, dude, like not cool, man. You're already on thin ice with the Dylan Mulvaney thing. Now you're trying to like cover your ass, and you're doing it totally wrong. Wrong.
Well, and I think it's silly that they're like, never forget, always remember 9/11, whatever. It's like they killed more faceless, nameless bad guys in the Middle East, like in the last 20 years, like almost every fucking week than they killed in the entire 9/11 whole spiel. Like there's a lot of people dying out there.
Yeah. And still are, right?
Yeah. Well,
I guess that, excuse me, that might be a good kind of launching off point. I'm curious, it's cool to like get you one-on-one here, because we've only ever really talked on the WTF forum and like whatever messaging on Instagram and stuff. But yeah, I'm curious, man, like how you got to this point, what kind of led you to start thinking about things maybe in a different way, and how you eventually wound up kind of getting into this philosophy of anarchism.
Okay. Yeah. I grew up in a tiny little hippie village in the southern part of Colorado. And those guys had a profound impact on my ability to mistrust the government. My dad is conservative, though. So on the other hand, it's like the peace and love guys are all like, fuck the government, we'll just help each other. And then my dad is like, I will shoot the fucking redacted if they try to take my redacted. And it balances out. So now it's like this, it's a pretty peace, love, and autonomy type thing, kind of similar to like what BR's got going on. Because I just grew up with this weird, like, I guess, dipole of different beliefs. Like, we're growing pot in the backyard before it was legal, but also if you come and try and steal it, you're going to get shot. And it's like, yeah, this is pretty cool.
It seems like a good kind of middle ground to me, man. Like, again,
we're growing pot in the backyard before it was illegal, or before it was legal hypothetically in Minecraft, I guess I should
hypothetically in Minecraft. This, we will say, I guess, disclaimer, this is all satire. None of this is real. We're each playing a character. Go fuck yourself. Don't take any of this shit serious.
Nothing that I say can or will be used against me in a court of law. That's all.
Dude. Okay, so now I got two. I hope this doesn't turn into just like, oh, remember this meme, remember that meme. But I saw a good one today where it was like a guy getting arrested, and he, cops are holding him up against a wall, putting cuffs on him, and it says, anything you say can be held against you. It's kind of a shortened version, and then the guy just says titties. And the cop goes, good one. I wouldn't mind him being held against me. But no, the meme I was thinking about before was the whole, my politics can be summarized as, I want gay pot farmers to be able to defend their crops with automatic weapons, gay married pot farm, blah blah blah
Yeah.
blah blah. You know, trying to like kind of shove as much into one statement as possible. And it's like, dude, like obviously that's like a pretty reasonable thing, man. Like, I don't know. We get painted to be the extremists, and I don't know. I guess I don't mean to jump into the middle of your sort of background story here, but it does sound like you were just kind of raised a natural libertarian. Am I right?
For the most part, yeah. Which is pretty cool because like it's not it wasn't as clear cut as it is now. Like I had these weird things that like my mom was really against pot. My grandma was a hippie that smoked pot. So it was like this weird like sort of struggle of like trying to figure out what's right.
Sure.
Then of course I grew up and was like, why the fuck does it matter what other people are doing? But yeah, I mean, I came to college and fucking that's kind of where I am now. Is I'm not in college still, but I'm up where I came to college at, and everybody up here is a different kind of leftist. I mean, they're the ones that you see screeching on the news, like they're not good. The people that like sort of were around when I was growing up were these like old school like Woodstock hippies that went into the mountains and built their own houses and shit off the grid and stole power from the fucking electrical lines and stole cable TV for years and stuff like that. And like I come here and these people are like, fight the system, but they're just the system, and it's like, you guys are fucking stupid. So that polarized me alarmingly to to where I am now, which is where I'm like, man, you guys are fucking dumb. Stop.
All of y'all are stupid.
Yeah, stop voting for your masters. Stop fucking feeding the hand that bites you. That's what I started saying recently. I like that saying.
Well, cool, man. So what, I mean, how'd you end up going full blown anarchist? Because that's a leap, you know. Most people don't jump into the deep end like that, you know.
So prior to the 2020 elections, I was in some of the big igloo groups, right? And
big, like, oh, okay. It took me a second, but I got you now. Yeah,
it's hard to do the quotations. It blurs my fingers, which is kind of funny. It reminds me of being in an Asian porn. But
is that something you have lived experience with?
Maybe. I'm just saying, don't go to www.xxtentacles.com because you might find me on the screen, the cover.
You've been making the most of this AI technology. That's what it is.
I've actually gone in AI, like replace myself onto every Johnny Sins video, and I just re-upload them.
Yeah. Well, who needs sex when you have AI hentai with your face imposed on some kind of multi-limbed tentacle monster? Yeah. Who the real thing gets kind of boring after you see something like that.
Yeah, dude. I get harder than a math test for a dysgraphic kid or a dyscalculate kid when I fucking see those tentacles, bro. Like it sends me to a different dimension.
I can tell already we're gonna have a hard time
keeping this on YouTube.
Keeping it just keeping it linear, which fuck linear. Let's just I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit, man. But anyways, so you went to school, anarchist, not an anarchist, but eventually find that word or discover the true meaning of the word, perhaps. How's that go down?
So I was with in these online, I guess, communities, which, as you know, at the time were just glowing, and so it was always funny to just be like, haha, that's a fed. Prior to 2020 election, right before the zuckening, it was like I was doing a lot of like unofficial propaganda for the LP. Like, okay, here's shit, sending this to my, and I got a lot of people in my small county that I come from where, like, a lot of my friends, I guess, were sort of pushing the libertarian message, which was cool. But right around the zuckening time, when I got zucked, I lost my big account and everything. And I was like, this is fucking bullshit because I didn't do anything wrong. Like, I was in this group that had people they didn't like. They shut down the group. That's one thing. But the only thing I was doing is sharing basically third-party messages and like, hey, vote for this. And at the time it was Joe Jorgensen, not my favorite person, but better than the one we have now and the one we had before. So I was like, okay, this is cool. I'll just, do my thing, spread LP messages. And when my shit got removed, it kind of just was like, oh, it's literally the precursor to the election. My account gets removed for damn near no reason. So I was like, okay, this is probably just because the whole two-party system bullshit. Come to find out, it pretty much was exactly that, because like now we have the evidence that they were silencing individuals for sort of destabilizing the democracy or whatever. But at the time I was like, oh, I'm being wronged, whatever. Because like that was like an account I had like I had pictures like with my grandma, and I had like messages, with people that have passed now that I would have liked to keep. It's kind of, silly or whatever, but it was important to me. I'm good with it now. I'm like, fuck Facebook, but yeah, it's just silly that happened. And I started, I followed Whiskey and Rebellion for a while, and I was like, you know what, like, as much as I like being a bit more on the conservative side in terms of not blowing a bunch of money, which is something that conservatives in this country are terrible about, fuck cops, fuck LEOs, fuck all this stuff. And because, oh gosh, I'm getting scattered. I'm sorry. Backtracking all the way back.
You're good.
The little community I'm from, we had one cop, and he was hardly ever in town. He was always in the next town over doing his thing. So we didn't have really cops. We didn't have any problems. But when he came around, it was like, yeah, how's it going? We were always friendly. Well, moving into, where we are now, it's like, even now, like I look back there, that police force is very corrupt. The people there are like not actually getting any justice, because they'll arrest somebody for like distribution of like fentanyl, so something serious, and then the DA will throw it out. And it's like, and the DA has a reason to throw it out, because they're not doing their jobs properly. They're not properly processing people. They're not doing things by their own book. And so it's causing like a lot of problems back where I'm from, where basically there's a ton of like, basically you can almost murder somebody and get away with it down there. I'm not going to say where, because I don't want you to go murder where my family lives, but
yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of fucked. So yeah, so back to Whiskey, it was like at the time I was like, I still kind of like cops, not that I lick the boot or anything, but it's like, they do their job, because I thought their job was to come into town every once in a while and say hi and go away. But
yeah, like Andy Griffith, and it's Andy Griffith, and Barney Fife kind of thing. Yeah. Not so much once you move to the city. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Come to find out, they go around and they fucking kill people, basically unprovoked. They get away with tons of shit that nobody else would possibly be to get away with. I mean, it's a fucking mess. I mean, cops in this country are something else. As I was getting down that route, I was like, so what's the solution? It's like, okay, so I like guns. All right. I like gardening and doing all that hippie shit too. Not to call you a hippie, but I like, I liked the idea of an authority, but only the one that I really like, not the one that's just going to go around and shooting people and whatnot. So it's like, okay, this kind of falls under this blanket of like anarchism, basically. I mean, it's not that big of a slip between being like a libertarian and an anarchist. But yeah, once my account got zucked and I no longer had any family to worry about, I made another account and I just started shit posting, and made this Instagram account that I have now. I have a personal, I guess, that I should probably follow you on. I don't know why I haven't yet. But yeah, so I mean, both of my accounts are just full of anti-state propaganda and shit like that. And it's like, yeah, I mean, they did this to me by not letting me play by the rules. Now I'm gonna fucking retweet a video of somebody just dying because it's funny and it breaks community guidelines. Like the zero sleep. Yeah. Those faceless edits. Have you seen those?
I'm not sure which ones you're referring to.
Oh yeah. So Zero Sleep is his like one of his other channels or whatever. It's a collaboration, I believe. But basically they do edits. It's called like Thief Slay Thursday, and it'll just be like CCTV footage of people trying to like rob stores and just getting shot on camera. And they're constantly getting removed, but I'm constantly sharing them because it's fucking hilarious.
Yeah. you know, speaking of anti-state propaganda, like anti-state, the account just posted,
Mhm.
a little PSA, if you will. And, I'd like to think that this guy isn't just pulling numbers out of his ass. I'd be curious where he got these numbers from, but it was that since, from 2010 to 2018, I think it was, he said, um, what was it? Defensive gun uses outnumber mass shootings at a rate of like 450,000 to 1 or something. And I wonder, like, is that globally? Is that including like warfare? Or, I like, that seems like a really massive number, right? I
Yeah.
mean, what do you
I
think?
trolled the
What do you think?
comments.
Yeah.
I sifted through it. I mean, I love comment section. So I don't know if you've noticed I comment on a lot of shit.
Yeah.
I don't know
Yeah.
if you see them. Yeah.
I,
But
I, I tend to, because I think if you follow somebody, they,
yeah.
automatically come to the top. But yeah, I've seen your comments on quite a bit of shit. Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny because sorry, I'll get to that in a second, but it's funny because like a lot of times when I see an increase in followers on that account is because I'm basically Ben Shapiro, epically trolling someone, and then I get like fucking 10 followers or something out of just a funny comment, and I'm
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
oh, let's go. Engagement.
I guess I
But
might be missing out
so
on that. That might be a good way to get followers. I don't do much commenting.
that's fair.
Maybe, maybe it's a bad strategy of mine, but it seems like a lot of work, man. Seems like a lot of work.
That's the
If you
thing.
enjoy it,
Yeah,
though,
it's not like I just spend all my day on my phone. I'll just see something, or I'll look and I'll see like one retarded comment right at the top, and then I'll be like, "Oh, this guy's stupid," and I'll reply to him or whatever.
yeah.
I will say you don't have as much of a social media like comment thing, I guess, going on. But to your credit, you have 141 episodes, and I have 5. So I post about
Yeah,
2 a year.
man. I should be prodding you a little bit. We need more
Yeah,
from Call to
yeah.
Liberty. Yeah, I've enjoyed all your episodes, man.
Thank you,
Especially,
thank
I'll
you.
say, I really enjoyed, like I told you, I just listened today to the one on capitalism. I think I
Mhm.
listened to it like back when I first met you, but I just re-listened to it and I thought it
Yeah,
was a good episode. But your one about pirates just tickled my funny bone to the maximum. Uh, I love pirates, man. Who doesn't? And yeah, that episode was really cool. I liked that you kind of dove into the historical example of what's the name of the town? Libertas or
Libertalia. Yeah, it's
Libertalia?
like, yeah, it's the El Dorado of pirates.
Yeah. So
I
is
guess
it
besides El
actually
Dorado,
historical? Is it historical or is it more mythic?
it's like a myth. Yeah, it's like
Okay.
yeah. I was. It's like the fucking like Davy Jones or whatever. It's like, oh, this is we're gonna make Libertalia the place where we can all like live free, and yeah, obviously that didn't happen, but it's like really cool that there was a whole mythos about doing that way back in the golden age of piracy.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, but wasn't there? So there was Tortuga was
Mhm.
like the pirate island, and that actually was legit. I mean, they had like
Mhm.
a what, a pirate colony of sorts. Do you know offhand like what the organization of that was, or if there was any? Or, and I'm not saying that
So
pirates are like a good example because they clearly didn't follow like the no
yeah,
non-aggression principle, but
yeah,
they were sort of a form of an anarchistic society.
for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
So from what I remember, basically the research on that episode that I did, because I do try to do research sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they had an appointed governor. So like Tortuga was established before the pirates were there. Obviously, the pirates kind of came in and sort of bribed or corrupted whoever was in charge. But technically, they still answered, I believe, to the Spanish crown or maybe the Portuguese crown, one of the two. And so whenever they came back towards the end of the pirate age, it was because whenever the government came back towards the end of the pirate age, it was because they were like, hey, we're going to install a guy that's not going to be corrupted. Like, we're going to basically take a nobleman that already has land and holdings back in our place, install him here so that he doesn't be, corrupted by these fucking pirates, and he's going to institute law. And that's, I think they hung like 36 pirates in one day when they like installed that guy, because it was like, no, this is coming to an end now. So they still had a form of government, which kind of ended up biting them in the ass, because as much as you pay off the bad guy at one point, sometimes somebody's going to pay him more money than you, and that's your ass. So yeah, but so Tortuga, I'm trying to think. There's another really big like pirate. Hold on, I think I can Google it.
Yeah,
but I don't know if I've showed you that, but that's why, like, that's like Blackbeard's flag apparently.
right.
But yeah, that's why I unblurred my fucking messy ass bedroom. Hell, I'm gonna go ahead and blur that again.
My place doesn't look any better, man. That's why I keep the camera pointed up.
Yeah, that's where mine actually comes down at an angle. That's why it looks like I'm not looking at you, because when I look at my screen, my camera's up. Yeah.
Hey, no judgment, but hadn't that bed been leaning on your wall for like a couple months now?
Look, man, it's like $150 to remove a mattress, right? My thoughts are, I'm just gonna go real fast down the interstate with it in the back of the truck and just wait for it to blow out.
Oh, bro, you can strap her down. So you've got a truck?
Yeah.
Well, then what are you waiting for?
I'm waiting for having the willpower to spend like almost $200 to throw something away.
Yeah.
Like, they charge you for disposal. Yeah.
Just take it in the mountains and light it on fire. That's what most people would do.
That's a good point. Although Colorado wildfires have almost exclusively just been started by retarded ass tourists or people that live here not knowing how to manage a fire when they're camping.
No, I kid. And also, this is not legal advice. Do not light your mattresses on fire unless perhaps there's a riot in your neighborhood and it seems appropriate.
Port Royal, that's the one that I was thinking of. The other pretty famous pirate stronghold.
Yeah.
New Providence. But yeah, they had a little bit of establishments here and there, but it was kind of hard because it's the same problem we have today. When you have a bunch of people that don't want to be ruled or governed, it's hard to come together to rule or govern anything, including themselves.
Yeah,
and sloppily drunk all the time.
Like I said, I don't think pirates are like the best example. I think there are better examples that have existed of like functional anarchistic societies. And I guess, maybe it'd be worth even addressing like what that even means. I don't want to get like too hypothetical, right? Like, to me, like an anarchistic society is one that is ultimately just a decentralized kind of free and open society of any kind. I would argue that most forms of tribalism, like, were basically just anarchism. There's still hierarchy, there's still sort of law, but ultimately, like most tribal societies, their leadership was kind of, generally it was more of a matriarch, or not a matriarchy, a meritocracy. That's what I mean. Mm-hmm. And like chiefs were chosen based on whatever kind of metric, but it was generally a matter of prowess, of success, of leadership ability. Like I said, meritocracy. And the simple fact of the matter, like living as they did, sort of in the natural environment without necessarily having strict boundaries, at any point anybody could leave the tribe, of their own free will. It's not like they were captives to their own tribes. They could leave and join another, perhaps. Now that's, I mean, I know I'm being a bit like it's not,
General.
it wouldn't have been as easy as I'm making it sound.
Yeah.
Like you are
but
kind
I
of,
get what you're saying.
yeah. I mean, there's just a natural sort of liberty at play in the natural world. You know, I was driven towards anarchistic thinking by kind of studying ecology of all things and realizing like there is no government in the forest. I mean, the sad thing is that's not exactly true. You know, like our government controls our forests right now and manages them, but ecosystems operate within natural law, but without any kind of ruling body, without any kind of, you know, executive decider, except perhaps you might argue like God, and like the weather, you know, like shit like that. But you know, it's to me an unfortunate side effect of our transition from hunter-gatherer, tribal. You know, I always kind of want to clarify it's not hunter-gatherer. They were hunter-gatherer gardeners, largely. Like most tribal societies did not simply ignore the plant life around them. They actively managed it. That's kind of I'm going off topic, but
oh no, you're totally good, man.
I kind of lost my train of thought, to be honest.
You were talking about how in nature there's
no ruler. Right,
yeah.
Right. I mean, that's just an obvious thing. It's an obvious thing. And it's an unfortunate side effect of our transition from that more traditional human, you know, biologically appropriate lifestyle to a agricultural, you know, civilization. That's, you know, government is a byproduct of us leaving our environment and creating an artificial one, so to speak. So my point is, you know, I think it was an easy transition for me after observing how nature works and learning about it and being in it. And, you know, it kind of all clicked at once, kind of towards the end of my college experience, that like there's a lot of unnecessary artificial control in our world, in our society. And I've always said it's not like being an anarchist means that you have to actively fight the existing powers. It's more of just a philosophical. I think it's less political and more philosophical, right? It's more a recognition of the backdrop of what is, as opposed to, you know, all these constructs, you know, money, government, you know, culture, like all these things that we think define our world are really kind of,
it's an illusion.
It's an illusion. They're all, they're all basically illusions.
Yeah. Like as cool as it is to talk to somebody where I am, who's all the way in Indiana, a couple hundred miles away or whatever, or I guess probably close to 1,000. I'm not exactly sure the distance between us.
It's maybe 1,000. Yeah,
maybe about around there. It's really
I've
cool.
Driven it enough times. Yeah, it's pretty cool, man. Yeah, I've made that drive. It takes about 20 hours to get to like Denver for me.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's no small thing, but
sure.
Yeah.
Well, next time if you end up around these parts, let me know and maybe we can get a drink or something. But yeah, as cool as it is that, you know, we can talk like this, it is entirely unnatural. And like at the end of the day, I think of that a lot. It's like there's almost something wrong with humans, right? Like we developed something, like we have a deep sense of empathy, but we also have the opposite of that, which is just I wouldn't say apathy, but like maliciousness. You know what I mean? Like a bear doesn't kill a deer to kill it. He kills it because he's hungry, right? He eats what he can eat then there's deer left, and if he doesn't eat the entire thing, you've got like the buzzards are going to come in and eat it, or the coyotes or the wolves, depending on where you are. If a human kills a deer, we take the entire deer, throw it in our freezer, and don't share a fucking bite of that with anybody that isn't our immediate family. But like, and that's not like the best example, but like, we hoard food a shit ton. Like, we throw away more food than we eat for them. Like, a lot of people, like, I think I said like 40% of the food in the country is just like thrown away, like just fucking tossed. And that doesn't mean like, oh, only 50% or 60% of the food is getting eaten. It means we produce so much food that we essentially have 100% of our food here that we eat, and then an extra like 40% of that we just toss out the fucking door. We don't feed like our homeless. We don't, but like the bear, he just eats what he needs to eat, and then he goes home. And then everybody else in the forest eats, that kind of thing. But we have this like almost like maliciousness to us, where it's like, no, I want that. And and like I said, the whole like feeding your family thing is not a great example, but that sort of train of thought where it's like, how can I gain from this? In every situation, we have the gain of power, gain of money. It's crazy when you go into the woods and you see all these animals that like kind of live together in an ecosystem. And it's like, wow, we don't really have a spot here. Like, because I'll eat the bird. I'll eat the cat that eats the bird. I'll eat the bear. I'll fucking shoot the coyote. We just kind of destroy things.
I'm inclined to disagree with you on like a number of points, man.
Okay, sure. Yeah, no, go for it.
Because, like we've already kind of established, excuse me, a lot of this shit's just an illusion, like that we perceive as our reality. The truth is we are a part of the ecosystem. Like, we do have a place within it. We have just put up walls that help us forget. But let me go back to kind of the beginning of what you said. And like, the reason that dogs got domesticated first, they were our very, very first domesticated animal. And it's because we always had an excess. We always had waste food. So dogs, wolves became accustomed to scavenging human like refuse, garbage in essence. And over time, they became more and more sort of accustomed to us, docile towards us. It's a very funny question of like human dog like natural history, that did we domesticate them or did they domesticate us? Okay. It's kind of like they either out of a desire to get a free meal sort of learn to almost manipulate human emotions and make us less inclined to kill them, or vice versa, or it's neither, it's both. It's, I tend to prescribe to the both argument, right?
So our deeply developed sense of empathy and tribal nature and social nature.
Well, they learned our language. They learned tonation, and they learned when they could approach, cautiously, and when they had to turn tail and run based on human vocal inflection. And obviously, like, whether or not they're getting stones and arrows, hurtled at them. But, it's just an example, but it's kind of like people have always had the ability to have more than they necessarily needed. And then sort of like a sub ecosystem evolves in our wake, if you will. So like, we do have a heavy influence on the ecosystem, often in a detrimental way, right? Like, I am not a big climate change guy, but I am like keenly aware that there are, let's say, many small ecological disasters that happen every day all across the world. And cumulatively, we are in a ecological disaster, but it's not necessarily the one that they're painting. I feel like I'm spiraling in different directions, but hear me out. Yeah.
I've been feeling like that the whole time. I'm like, you bear with me, I'm bearing with you. We're good, man.
Yep. So like, they want us, as with everything, they want us overwhelmed. They want us terrified. They want us obedient. So using climate change and like the global quote unquote environmental disaster is a very good way of making people totally powerless, or at least make them feel totally powerless. You know, it's too big of a problem for me to do anything about it. Whereas if we say, you know, forget the global, like focus on your 100-mile like radius around you, the ecosphere that you exist within, and do what you can to like improve that. You know, I think the whole think global thing is just bullshit. It's like, it's never going to work. People aren't designed to think that way, that we're not equipped for that kind of scale. And
yeah, we can't comprehend. We can't comprehend what 1 billion people looks like. Like, that's so many people, and I damn sure am not going to care about 1 billion people. You know, like I don't have it in me. They said, what, you can care about like at max like 100 people. I don't give a shit about like,
I forget what they call that, but there's some guy, some I want to say psychologist or maybe an anthropologist or something that came up with is it Schrodinger's number or something like that, where it's, you can only really know like a couple hundred people.
I think, it's not Schrodinger is the cat in the box guy. I think it's like Schroeder or something. But I know what you're talking about. Yeah. But yeah, that's fair.
But I guess,
and I mean,
go ahead.
I was just going to say, like, if you put me in a Saw situation and there's a random stranger or like one of my family members, like, of course, I'm going to save my family member. Like, it's like, I mean, why am I? It's my family. You know what I mean? My tribe, so to speak. So it's just it's silly to me that they want us to like think about all the people all around the globe. Like, no, why don't the people that live near them think about them, and I'll think about the people that live near me, and in this way, I don't have to worry about some shit I can't control. That's just fear porn. Like making people care. Like, hold on, it's hard to making people care about people that live, you know, on the other side of the planet, when there's nothing you can do to stop whatever's happening to them, is just a way to induce fear and anxiety into people for damn near no reason.
Yeah, I think
I don't know if that makes sense.
It's weaponizing. No, it does. They weaponize our natural proclivity towards collectivism, right? Like it's our tribal instinct that they're using against us, so to speak. And people want to talk about like this false dichotomy between like, are you individualistic or collectivistic, right? Are you a commie or a conservative? Are you this or that? It's like, well, we have the proclivity for both. Like, it's a natural thing. Like, it's called survival, right? We have learned as a species that we are better off in social groups where we, you know, sort of share the load of survival, and we help each other. But that only works to a certain scale before it becomes impossible to achieve without force, right? This is the argument for anarchism. Like, from a biological level, we can cooperate up to a certain scale. You know, really, if you think about it, there's kind of like multiple orders of magnitude to our human like organization, and there always has been. It's like family, I guess you would say individual, family, tribe, I guess you'd say like clan, then you could go out to like nation. This has always been the case. And there's overlap. That's what keeps you from, you know, having a bunch of inbreeding going on within a tribe, is that there's a bigger clan or nation that is loosely cooperative, right?
Yeah, like
But
we're not
really,
going to kill each other, but like I'm also not going to share my food with him. Like you can go hunt your own food, motherfucker.
well, it's kind of like impractical to try to have a tight knit group larger than 100 or 200 people. You know,
Yeah.
biologically, like it's very natural, just as with a wolf pack or a herd of bison. Like, I mean, I guess maybe bison's not a great example because they would travel in, you know, hundreds and hundreds of thousands. But most mammals will kind of divide and conquer, you know, go to new territory if their tribe gets to a certain size. You know, I think we've been sold a bad bill of goods with our current political system in that it's impossible to keep a group united against their will, you know, artificially. You know, the nation is declared this. You know, I got an argument with a guy about the whole social contract thing, and he kept being like, well, you signed the social contract. I'm like, bullshit. Like, when did I do that? Fuck
Show
you.
me right now.
Fuck you.
Yeah,
I did not sign that contract.
Yeah.
And and so it's, you know, I don't know, man. I guess that's enough of a ramble there. But the point is, anarchism is the first thing that I came across that actually seemed to be a coherent thought that, like, basically at the core of it all, there's really no true. I mean, I just think anarchism is like the plane that we exist on, and all this other stuff is just, you know, the play that we put on for ourselves.
Yeah. Are you familiar with the video game Rust?
No.
There's like a lot of memes about it. I wasn't sure if you've seen. Basically, you just kind of spawn into the world. You're not wearing anything, and you have to fight to survive. Like that's it. And it's like, that's how you start out in this world. Naked, afraid, coming out swinging, you know, crying. You gotta survive. But like we have this whole thing now where it's like, okay, well, we're gonna come out, and then here you are, you know, you're in your hospital, and you have any issues, we're gonna treat you fine and everything. But then it's like, all right, well, then we're gonna, you know, you're gonna grow up, you're gonna pay all your taxes, you're gonna, you know, and it's like none of this is real. Like
before they've cleaned the gunk out of your eyes, they've already got a fucking government identification number.
Yeah.
Ready for you. You know, like yeah.
It's ridiculous.
And then they chop the tip of your dick off while they're at it, just to be like, fuck you, little motherfucker, you know.
my body, my choice, but where's my goddamn foreskin, you know?
Where's my fucking foreskin, bro?
Dude,
I think we've talked about this before. It's hilarious, dude. Last year at Childerberg, it was like the last night, and it was so late. It was probably 3 or 4 in the morning. Everybody was just sloshed, and all of a sudden we start talking about circumcision, and it was it was almost hilarious and almost like I don't know. It was halfway between hilarious and kind of moving, just to hear a bunch of other dudes be like, yeah, that shit's kind of fucked up, right? Like, you know, like, well, why'd they do that to all of us? What the fuck?
It's weird. I don't know if you know this, but pretty much the United States, like pretty much on North America, is the only place they really do that anymore. Like if you go to like Europe or whatever, even like most of the religious folks don't do the whole chop your.
I think it's roughly 1 in 10 in like Western Europe, if I remember correctly, versus the US. It's like 3 out of 4, I want to say. Yeah. And it's all thanks to John Harvey Kellogg, right? Isn't that his name?
I don't know, the guy behind the cereal.
Yeah, the Seventh-day Adventist, who he advocated for it basically to curb the male, you know, sex drive,
desire. I remember he invented cornflakes in order to kill sexual appetite, or something like that.
And his shit really took off, man. Like, it's amazing how much of an influence he had on our culture. in a lot of fucked up kind of ways, man. Yeah.
Dude, yeah, there's some pretty notable figures in our country that are just like, whoa. You know, Henry Ford got like basically a recognition from the Nazi Party for being such an anti-Semite. Like Henry Ford hated the
Really?
Jews so
Wow.
much that the Nazis were like, God damn.
They like took note. They're like, oh, this guy. Hey, look at
That's
him.
why, yeah, Volkswagen like early models were made to look like Ford like vehicles.
Wow.
Because
Wild.
they love the guy. You got to be a real Jew here to get recognized by the Nazi Party.
No
But
kidding.
I don't mean to drop the hard J there. I just mean like that's crazy.
Yeah.
I think they gave him like an Iron Cross or whatever. Like that's a lot.
Oh, it's crazy, man. You know, not like our government was really all that much better. You know, it's like the OSS was formed, like that was the peak, you know, until now, the peak of like government propaganda was during World War II in the United States. You know, it's like we had all kinds of shit dehumanizing the Japanese, dehumanizing the Germans. You know, we had concentration camps. Like, let's not act too.
Like,
go ahead.
Sorry. Oh, there's one of those Japanese internment camps like 45 minutes away from where I grew up, man. It's pretty cool.
Wow.
I mean, it's not cool, but it's like
it's pretty cool, man.
I didn't mean it like that. I mean,
yeah, man.
Put a bid to reopen it, but whatever. I didn't mean it like that.
Hey, I ain't got no beef with no Japanese motherfuckers. They built the best truck ever made, and it's sitting out in my driveway. So
Toyota.
Yoda Bros for life, dude.
I need a Toyota. I actually went before, so I have an F-150, but I was like kind of like, yo, I should get a fucking the Toyota. Which one is it? It's not the Tacoma, is it? It's the other one.
Well, so the older ones were just called Toyota pickups.
Okay.
So if it's I want to say like 2000, 2001 or 2002, something like that. They started calling them Tacomas, but before that, it was just a pickup or a 4x4, or, you know, mine, everybody just called the SR5, just, you know, it's just the SR5, but that, you know, it's a 4x4. On the title, it says Toyota pickup 4x4 SR5. I'm like, that's a goddamn motherfucking mouthful. But
that's a name.
But hey, man, I'm just saying, it's for good reason, the choice of insurgents all over the world.
Yeah, if you want to mount a 50 caliber fucking machine gun to a truck, you better make it a damn Toyota.
You better.
Yeah.
Yeah, she needs a little work, actually. I think I got a bad bearing. It's starting to grind a little bit. Either that or my brake caliper might be coming loose, but you know, she goes where it's like the little engine that could. I think I can. I think I can. Never has she give up.
Yeah.
But
that's awesome, man.
Yeah. Get yourself one. Get yourself. Damn, we got some comments in here, man. Look at that.
That's a fucking bot there.
I'm like, that's a long one. What the fuck? Yeah. No, we've got a couple people in the chat.
Sure.
One of them's got a pretty I'm gonna say controversial screen name, and I'm just not gonna read it.
All right.
But we assume he means no harm. So I guess let's keep it moving then, man. I mean, you were already, it sounds like you were there before COVID kicked off, right?
Oh yeah.
So
the fucking
did you
that extremely radicalized me.
yeah, you and me both, man. You and me both. In the best ways possible.
Not in a bad way.
Yeah,
Minecraft,
right. In Minecraft.
Radical.
In Minecraft.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's just, I mean, your view, people either went one way or the other, and obviously a lot of people went the one way and we went the other. The false dichotomy that you're talking about earlier, the most recent episode of my show is called that, but it comes from a Lysander Spooner basically like quote something about the false dichotomy of left versus right when it's really state versus no state, or control, or over no control.
Mm-hmm.
Government versus no government. That's the false dichotomy, is the, oh, well, if you're not a Republican, then you're a damn Democrat, or you're a commie, you're a conservative. It's like, no, that's false. Like, all of that is government. The other side is just no government. Yeah.
I tend to ascribe to, like, I don't know how much you've done, like, looking into duality, but that's an idea I became very, very kind of obsessed with. I would say in one of my more pissed off, kind of like manic moments post like George Floyd riots, I just went into like hardcore kind of research mode and like deep digging mode, trying to like figure out why people do the things they do, why things are how they are. And I became very conscious and like obsessed really with this idea of duality, where there's always two sides and it's always the same coin in essence, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like anything has a dual, has a equal and opposite that is in fact part of the thing itself.
Mm-hmm.
And chaos and order is kind of one of those things, and it's easy to like oversimplify. It's kind of like, well, am I on the side of chaos if I'm against government? Like, no, actually, I'm always on the side of balance. This is what yin and yang are all about. The balance between chaos and order. And to be for the chaos is to miss the entire point. To be for order is to miss the entire point. It's a matter of finding the happy medium between. And so I think anarchists can be a little dogmatic, or a little almost they simplify it almost too much to say that it's just about having no government, if you will. Right. Like, because that's basically, I mean, impractical, or at this point it's just not feasible to say in our lifetimes, no government. It's like, no, it's to be an anarchist is to recognize the truth of anarchism, in that it is, like I said before, kind of the plane that we exist on, like, and all these structures that we've built up still exist in the ecosystem, in the, under natural law. I almost think that using the word anarchism confuses people, because it's like, it doesn't quite say that, but like what we're really talking about is the natural laws of the universe, and the fact that we're being kind of imposed upon by unnatural laws.
Yeah.
Oftentimes, right?
So, I mean, to pick it up, earlier, when you were talking about duality earlier, I even said this, I said we developed a sense of empathy that's so deep that, if somebody dies, you feel that, like somebody you love. But on the other hand, we also have that sense of just maliciousness, of like, people can be cruel, and you can be both. You can love your family and hate somebody else deeply. We have that in us. But also, yeah, it seems it's so silly, because when you look at all these, the structures, that kind of thing we're talking about here, it's like, it's all an illusion for sure. But we have this idea that we're going to build something and it's going to immortalize us, or everything decays. And we have this weird proclivity to just hate that. Like, oh, my brakes wore out, I need to replace them. Damn it. Like, what did you expect? You use something, it decays, it wears. That's the way everything is. I'm not like dogging on you or anything. I'm just like taking that as an example of like, people have this, like, we get upset when things do what they do. Like, everything dies, everything crumbles and falls and turns into dust. Like, that's just what things do. It's a natural state of things. And we have this idea built up, I think, that, we're going to build a big, let's say a house, and I'm going to live here forever. And it's like, you'll live there for 60 years tops. it's gonna fall down in another 100 years. It's the way everything works. There's no like permanence. We're in an ecosystem. And can you imagine if bears were running around putting, I don't know, you can't really put a den somewhere, but can you imagine if they built dens everywhere so they could fucking like pockmark the land?
What if they started putting up like statues of particular bears and like worshiping like bears that have been dead for hundreds and if not thousands of years? Wouldn't that be interesting?
Yeah.
No, we got free and poor in the chat.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Look at what he said.
I told everybody. I told him to stay, deranged or illegal sentences, and that might be both.
Yeah. Well, Wyatt, it's good to see you as always, Holmes. But yeah, dude, like I tend to think that people get too in one side or the other on things that are truly dualistic. And it's often hard for people to recognize that, like, that they're not on the side of balance if they're so far this way or so far that way. And that includes like people in our community, anarchists, who are so like dogmatically anti-government that they kind of miss the point. And the point is that, like, just like fuck the government, like forget about it. Let's figure out how to do it as good as we can on the ground where we live with the people we know, like in a practical, real way. Okay, great. Like thumbs up. We've all recognized the illusion. The unfortunate thing is that the illusion is still going to persist for the time being. Let's get real about what to do next and how to live more authentically, more true to our basic like biology and psychology. That's kind of what I'm starting to think is like, because I was even just a little bit too like this way, as opposed to just, hey, let's keep our eye on the prize. Let's stay balanced. Let's stay in the middle. Yeah.
And further to your point, it's not like there's no chaos in the world right now entirely because of government. It's not like it's not like government and chaos are on opposite sides. The government is dropping bombs left and fucking right. Does that not cause chaos?
Oftentimes they are the agent of chaos. That's the misnomer. That's why, like, it would be counterproductive for us to say, oh, well, we're against the established order. In other words, we are for chaos. Like, no, we recognize that often chaos is caused by these imposed forces of quote unquote order. And it's not as simple as we want to think.
I think,
or perhaps it's simpler. Perhaps it's simpler than we want to think. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Equating government to, well, I guess the opposite of chaos is peace. So when you say that, you don't believe in government, you must want chaos. You're equating government to peace. And they're literally the only people of history that have declared war. It's governments on governments. It's not like a peasant farmer declaring war on another peasant farmer. That doesn't happen.
Well, I would argue, and whatever, it's semantics, who cares? But like, if it's me, I'm going to say that it's, chaos on one side. The opposite of chaos is not peace. The opposite of chaos is order. Peace is sort of the happy medium between chaos and order. That's what I would argue. Like, what we want is peace. And if we have too much order, it's definitely not peaceful. If we have too much chaos, it's not peaceful. It's that thin line in the middle,
Thin line. The thin,
not the thin line. Blue line, just the thin line, But yeah, like the
green color.
I do see a lot of truth and a lot of potential, like, for understanding in the simple symbol of the yin yang, because it's, I don't know, man. I've just taken enough acid and mushrooms to kind of like, whatever. I think the yin and yang is a very significant symbol. It's the symbol of duality. And it says that this is one cohesive thing. There's a light side and a dark side, but there's also a little bit of the dark in the light and a little bit of the light in the dark. You know, in a two-dimensional representation, that is a whole lot of symbolism to understand, because it's supposed to be a universal truth of all things, that there's a light and a dark, and they're intertwined, and they have to be in balance. You know, the thing about the symbol itself is that it's static, but if you imagine that it's constantly amorphous and that it can shift, and it's not necessarily it's not static at all. It's always moving. And the ideal is that they are in a state of balance, and it's moving fluidly. The worst thing that can happen is it's disrupted, it's out of whack. It's, if anything, the worst thing is that it's stopped moving altogether. You know, I'm getting a little bit ethereal here, but
no, it's all right.
I hope this I think that sort of the basis of anarchism is like this truth of duality, of like a striving for balance. Like I've said before, that until the day comes that I think there's not enough government, like anarchism seems to be what gives me comfort.
Yeah.
You know, because at this point I feel like we're living in chaos that is imposed on us we're living in too much order and too much chaos. It's this like anarcho-tyranny thing that people keep talking about. It's like the worst of both. And it's I don't know, man. I need to shut the fuck up.
No, you're good. I think it's incredible when you look to like how old the yin yang is, how much, because they didn't have LSD. They didn't probably have marijuana strains that were that potent at the time. And I mean, monks typically don't imbibe such substances anyway. So these people just meditated for like 30 years or 40 years of their life. And they came to the conclusion, like, I think, you know, the light with the darkness in it, or the dark with the light in it, is when they look in themselves and they're like, okay, I have this ego. Like generally I'm good or whatever, I'm enlightened. They're kind of weird about that. But like I do still have a human ego. I am still a person. So like all that good like light still has a dark spot of ego on it. But then when you look out to other people, that's where the other side of it comes from, when you're like, okay, these guys are, you know, killing, and or maybe they're fighting at least, or they're not treating each other very well. But it's out of the fact that they're trying to survive and provide for their own people. So they are doing evil things, but there is a goodness in them that's causing them to do this.
Right.
And I think a little bit of that, the strife and like chaos of the early feudal, like Chinese and Mongolian empires, caused them to have this like sort of epiphany of like, whoa, like we can't remove ourselves from the equation. Like you were saying, we have a tendency to try to take ourselves out of the ecosystem of where we live, but we can't really. You're still there to observe. If you're observing it, you're affecting it. And like they realize like, hey, as much as I'm a pacifist, which killed a lot of people that they were pacifists. I'm a pacifist, so I'm not going to affect this outcome. But like as I'm watching it, it is affecting the outcome, because you know it's like our human nature to be concerned with other people, and these people were trying to kind of remove themselves. And I think that's where a bit of that evil comes from even from the monks that were so smart and enlightened. They had this like side to them of like, oh, I'm not going to raise a hand to protect, you know. I don't know. It's weird just how old that is as a symbol, and how much thought had to go into it, you know. It's weird.
Well, I think it might be like, how do I say this? It might be just a shape of nature that is like kind of deeply rooted in our psyche. So like last time I took a decent dose of mushrooms, I got a lot of fractal kind of patterns, and it was all these half yin yang symbols that kind of spiraled off into fractals. And if you don't know what a fractal is, just whatever, this part of the conversation ain't for you. But what it got me kind of thinking about it. It was like the nature of fractals is that they go off in all directions infinitely, you know, and the best we can do in terms of like art is a two-dimensional sort of representation, or I suppose like an animation of fractal patterns moving. But when you kind of live in a fractal pattern on psychedelics, or, you know, it can be achieved through a state of meditation, you realize it's like, it's very much three-dimensional. And it's, to me, it was like, oh, I kind of understand this concept of the multiverse now, where everything happens infinitely in all directions, right? Like there's a new dimension every millisecond, you know, different realities, right? It seems absurd, but when you kind of see how these patterns play out, and it's the same pattern that leads to the shape of a tree, it's the same pattern that leads to, you know, the snail shell spiral and like the Fibonacci sequence and whatever. But it's kind of a wild thing just to actually like see it firsthand and be like, oh my God, yeah, maybe there are infinite realities, infinite possibilities. You know, I'm living in this kind of like three-dimensional space when there's so much else going on around me. It's absurd. You know, I think part of the issue of sort of statism and like wanting to control thy neighbor instead of just letting things exist and be and happen is this lack of recognition of sort of the grandness of the universe itself, and the fact that to try to control anything is kind of a fool's errand. The best you can do is like exist in it and enjoy it. And like, I don't know, man, I smoked a little weed, so there you go. I've been just talking. I feel like I'm not even interviewing you anymore. I'm just bouncing ideas off of you. But
sure,
I guess let me ask you this, man. When did you start to speak out? Like, and what, like, why?
So I started the show, but before then, even I was still, I was still engaging with people on different platforms. Like, you know, why do you think this is good? If if you're pro this, why? If you're anti this, why? And then I don't know. I listened to, there's an old podcast that doesn't run anymore called Break the State. It's pretty good if you haven't heard it. It's like 13 or 15 episodes. And I mean, I would recommend everybody to listen to it. It takes all of like 3 hours to get through all of it. I think they're like short episodes, but the guy who runs it is pretty cool. And he kind of also gave me some advice for starting a show. And yeah, I don't know. When I listened to that, it was like, let's spread the message. And it's like, that seems like a pretty good idea. Pretty noble calling, I guess, to like, not that I think we're like some grand heroes. It's just like, I can scream into the void all I want, but at least when I'm talking with people or putting ideas out there, the occasional person that clicks on it and listens might be like, that's a good point. And I've actually gotten a couple of messages that are like that, like, oh, hey, came across this show and yeah, you made a good point. And I'm like, cool. Yeah, that's all I wanted to do. The less I have to deal with ignorant fucking idiots in my lifetime, the better. So teaching people that they don't have to have the government force feed them fucking their meals every day is probably the best I can do. Because I swear to God, in the next 20 years, there's going to be a program to have somebody just come to your house and wipe your ass for you. It's ridiculous.
Oh, that exists. That already exists, man. It's called like, nurses that are paid by Medicare. And
yeah,
man, if you want to know what one of the just roughest jobs ever is, I had a friend whose sister would go around and do like home care for elderly folk. And half of it was basically like wiping their ass. And yeah, man, like not a pleasant job, but I guess somebody's got to do it. It's an unfortunate consequence of us abdicating responsibility for our elders because of the state. And like,
yeah,
it's one of the many examples of like, we act like we've come up with some kind of solution that's better than like people need to fend for themselves and their families, right? Like we think that we can do it more clever, but like what it really does is leave people kind of high and dry and lonely and disconnected. And everybody just, they say you're born alone and you die alone. I don't think it always was that way, man. Like I think that's a modern affliction and it's really terrible.
No, I mean, my sister did the same job, but for like mentally disabled old people, which just isn't it? They're basically wards of the state, and you have to do everything for them. It's not a good time. Nobody really enjoys their job. They get hurt all the time because these people are not entirely in control of their faculties. It's weird though when you say, oh well, I think everybody should be responsible for looking after their own family. People are like, well, you're selfish. It's like, what? Like, no, because the only people that can take care of you are the people that care about you, or that they should be the only people that care about you, or take care of you, are the people that care about you. Sorry, but it's weird to me how it's like, well, you're just selfish. You don't understand yada yada X situation or Y situation. It's like 99% of the people that live in retirement homes are not people that are in X or Y situation. It's people whose kids don't want to fucking deal with them. Like that's sad. Like it is. They get paid well to take care of those old people in those homes. In that case, not like, not like the hospital staff who make like 16 an hour to get shit on. But like when you tell somebody like, oh, I think you should be responsible for your family. And they're like, well, this doesn't work. It's like, it does work. It worked for roughly 10,000 years until the last couple of centuries where we stopped doing that.
Yeah.
Like this is as simple as that. People always say, well, anarchism doesn't work. We need a government. It's like the first people didn't have governments and they seemed to survive really well. They didn't have any of the technology we have now and they lived. So I don't know if you can tell me that it's better.
Dude, people have such a like disparaging idea of who their ancestors were, and like nobody seems to respect that they came from a unbroken chain of survivors, man.
Yeah,
like successfully reproducing fucking human beings. Every one of their ancestors had a life, and managed to pass life forward, and then they look back and they're like, oh, they were so ignorant, they were so ill-informed, all they were basically apes. It's like, dude, our species has been around for 300,000 years. We're only just starting to scratch the surface of like archaeology and how far back. Like that's the thing. I almost don't want to shit on civilization too much, because like I think that we have had multiple kind of rise and fall situations of civilization, and perhaps one of our previous versions, call it Atlantis if you want to, might have been better than what we have now. Like maybe we had a more enlightened system, or maybe there's one yet to come. But like the truth is that people are not inherently destroyers. Like we are creators and we are destroyers, right? That was kind of like the core of what I disagreed with what you said earlier, was like, yeah, we do a lot of damage, man. But like, that's why I say we weren't just hunter gatherers. We were hunter gatherer gardeners, like we don't just kill and consume. We produce as well. So like, I'm hoping we can get a little bit closer to that. Again, I'm all about what's like biologically appropriate. So, I think we should try to be hunter gatherer gardeners again, if we can.
Sure.
Right?
Well, I didn't mean to entirely throw you off with that. What I mean is also like, the human goes through the woods, cuts down the trees, builds himself a house, knocking down 50 or 60 houses for birds and small other mammals in the process, whatever. Then he takes all these stones from the river and stacks them up and builds, a wall around the house, that kind of thing, where it's like we tend to be very short-sighted and focus on only what we want rather than the like needs of the creatures around us in our ecosystem. And it's not exactly always just killing willy-nilly. We do produce things, as you said, but like we also just have a short-sightedness that doesn't occur because there's not a want really in nature. I think it's not like it's like a sparrow doesn't go around being like, I want to, do X, and then he like goes around and dicks over all the other sparrows to accomplish his goal. Like most of nature works in harmony by accident, but on purpose. Like yeah, like
yeah, you're hitting on something good here. Go on. I got ideas, but go on.
Okay, yeah, no, I just mean like, the bear, when he gets done eating his lunch, leaves it. He doesn't understand like what a trash can is or whatever. He's not leaving that exactly for everybody else, but it works out because the birds and the Yotes and whatever, the badger, or I don't know what the fuck badgers eat. I'm pretty sure they eat man flesh. Now everything else has a place to eat for the day. It's not like he did that on purpose. It was on accident. He just didn't throw away his remains, which to us would be considered rude. But like the way that it works together is on accident, on purpose, because if you believe in like religion or whatever, it's like this is the way it was designed. And the way that things evolve typically around each other is symbiotic. So it works together on accident, but on purpose.
I don't think it's on accident, but I know why you would say that. Like it seems like incidental or random, but it's actually it's self-organizing. That's what it is. Yeah. It's anarchism. Yeah. It's anarchism. And so earlier I actually you were talking about entropy, basically, how everything is eroding. Everything is in a constant state of entropy. And so I actually pulled up the 3 laws of thermodynamics, and I don't know how familiar you are with this, but it's this is a kind of a basic principle of, I guess, physics, right? And it says the first law of thermodynamics states that energy can be converted from one form to another with the interaction of heat, work, and internal energy, but it cannot be created nor destroyed under any circumstances, right? We've all heard that energy cannot be created or destroyed. It can only change forms. The second law states that entropy will always increase over time as an isolated system in the universe. So in essence, once something is created, it is immediately in a state of disintegration, or more like simultaneously, like creation and destruction are happening at once. And then finally, the first law, I'm sorry, why does it state the first law again? That's weird. I guess it's just the 2 laws. Yeah. But anyways, I think it applies in that, like you said, people think that once we build something, it's going to just stay the way it was, right? Like we've built this form of government and it will just be okay. It'll work. It'll stay the same. No, it actually kind of breaks down along the way. And simultaneously it grows. I mean, that's kind of the weird dichotomy, or the weird duality at play, is it's a self-perpetuating system that is constantly degrading along the way,
Yeah, I pulled this up for you, the third law, since yours didn't.
Is there a third? Yeah.
The entropy of a system approaches a constant value as the temperature approaches absolute zero. So you can slow down entropy damn near all the way if you turn it to 0 Kelvin, I guess.
So absolute zero, if I'm not mistaken, has never been achieved, correct?
I'm not sure. So this may surprise you, but I was a physics student when I started in college, so I do know a little bit about. I just, if I don't know fully about something, I try not to talk about it. So like, of course I couldn't ramble the 3 laws of thermodynamics off my head. I don't remember that shit, but I do understand the concept. I don't know that absolute zero has been achieved, but I know we can get damn close to it. And I know that because here in Colorado, actually, there's let's say an experiment that successfully worked called the Bose-Einstein condensate. Basically, if you get so E equals mc squared, right? So
Right.
like energy is equal to matter mass, but times the whatever. So if you fucking do a little arithmetic, energy and mass are equivalent. You can basically almost convert one to the other, kind of mathematically. But like the Bose-Einstein condensate like proved that basically. It's you get it becomes like quasi. Sorry, okay. You get something so cold, and matter will start to bind with light, with like energy, with light, and it becomes like a quasi particle. Is really fucking cool. It only holds together for a very short time, but yeah, they did that here in Boulder, and they proved the Bose-Einstein condensate was like a real thing which happens because at the end of the day, everything is sort of equal, I guess, to each other over an equation. And it's like watching light bind with matter is fucking crazy because, yeah, it proves all kinds of weird shit in the physics world.
So I did a quick search, and it looks like we have not ever achieved absolute zero.
Okay.
But they're saying they're getting closer and closer. But, I think it's probably impossible. And I will say this as a layman. I don't know anything for certain. I'm not a physicist. But to me, it's very much akin to pi, right? Like, why can't we compute pi? It just goes on and on infinitely. The radius of a circle or whatever, pi. I guess pi represents just a circle in terms of mathematical equations, but the argument is that there is no such thing as a circle. Okay. I've heard this argument made. Part of the reason we can't compute pi, it goes on infinitely, is because it cannot be computed because a circle cannot exist. And this is, again, getting a little bit heady, but I think it's because everything is actually a spiral and we're just looking at it from a certain angle and it looks like a circle. But I don't know, like the fact that sort of physics and mathematics and certain types of science are getting very much into the gray area of like concepts that ancient man used to toy around with, sort of the older cosmologies and everything. Like the fact that a lot of ethereal sort of the more basic questions of where we came from, what the universe is, like the more we learn about math and physics, the more it becomes even like less clear.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm not making
no,
a lot of
I
sense
get you.
here, but yeah. I don't know.
It's
I
like
just think it's fascinating, dude.
You're trying to rip through the veil and the veil is pulling back.
Yeah.
It's like you found like 16 fundamental particles of the universe. Well, good luck observing them, because every time you try to look at them and figure out what the hell they're doing, they're going to change and they're going to do something different. Mm-hmm. It's like, I see what you mean. It's almost like, so earlier you said I tend to laugh at things and, dark humor, and like, that's entirely true. I read this or I watched this. I think I watched a video on it. I used to be a pretty, I don't know, more uptight or like anxious person, I guess. But I watched this thing. It's about these 3 laughing monks. Basically, they just travel around and they laugh at everything. And the moral of the story essentially is like they laugh, whatever. There's no point to being so serious. Everybody gets mad at them for laughing so much or whatever. But it's like one of those weird fables that doesn't exactly make sense because I'm not like from China or whatever. But anyways, when I saw that, I was like, oh, that's a pretty good point. So I try to like laugh at things. This is one of the things where you're trying to crack open the secrets of the universe, and the universe is basically saying, fuck you. That's where you have to laugh, I think. Like, that's so funny. Yeah. Like, we developed this technology so we can view the fundamental, like, smallest things in the universe. And when you use it, it fucks with them. So you can't actually get a solid result. And it's like, that's hilarious, man. Like, how do you not fucking find that hilarious?
We try to split the atom and like like, I guess maybe we kind of got it, but like the atom says, fuck you, no, and like just snaps back together, you know? Yeah. It's like, no,
Or
thanks. Like, yeah.
Or you split it and then it goes boom and kills you
And kills
everything around
500,000 people or whatever. Yeah. Right. Yeah. No shit. Oh man. Not our best day. Not our best day,
No.
guys. Let's try not to do that anymore. Yeah. You know, but truly, I think that's like of all things that people have ever done, like that was the most unnatural, and it sort of makes the most sense that it would be so terrible. Like, yeah, don't fucking defy nature. Like, splitting the atom and killing millions of people is not a cool thing, and never will be. I don't know, man. Like, we still kind of ascribe to, I think it was the Francis Bacon quote, as far as like how we do our science. Have you ever heard this, where I think it was Bacon, he said, like, to be a scientist is to put Mother Nature on the table, i.e. like the surgery table. And how does he say? And to tease out her secrets. And I think it's a good sort of image of what our type of science tends to be, because it's very torturous and very reductive. And I like that the word secrets is in there, because it kind of implies that we shouldn't go looking. Like, Mother Nature is allowed to have her secrets. So that's why I was very much drawn to ecology as a science, because it's way more observationally based, not a whole lot of experimentation involved, and it's a
oriented.
Well, and it's a what they'd call like a multidisciplinary science. So it envelops, you know, biology, hydrology, geology, you know, fill in the blank, and geography. Yeah, didn't you say you studied geography for a while?
Yeah, after physics became, I'm retarded, and I was like, man, physics is hard. I'm going to switch to this other major.
Yeah.
So yeah, but yeah, no, I mean, and geography has to do with everything in the same way. It's like, you know, political geography, physical geography. These things matter. The reason I think that was you breaking it down. I'm pretty sure when we were talking about like Ukraine with that fucking like mountain, or like that plateau or whatever that comes down, not a plateau, but like there's like one way for Russia to on ground to get through to Ukraine pretty much. And it's just like this weird or something like that.
I don't think that was me. No.
Yeah. Now that I think about it, I think the last time we were on a show, you were real high on mushrooms.
Dude, maybe so. Maybe so. That was the Steven Seagal episode of the WTF Forum, wasn't it? Yeah. Yeah, you haven't been on in a minute, man. I'm gonna start giving you a hard time. We're talking about maybe doing one tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah. But
it just gets a little weird. I think sometimes we talk about things and I'm just like, what are we even talking about? And so it's like,
yeah. I'm trying to dial it in. No. It's kind of still in the experimental phase. My hope is always that like people will bring some topics and then people don't. And it's kind of like we're at times like, I don't know, we're just riffing, but yeah. I don't know. Ando's kind of into it. He wants to help kind of share the load. So I'm hoping, you know, I might not be the only one kind of pushing them, but we'll see how it goes. Yeah.
Try to find,
and he's bringing in like guest appearances. So, you know, it'd be cool if we had sort of the core group and like a rotating sort of guest every time. That'd be kind of fun.
Yeah.
But
so I guess back to what you were saying, there's actually, it's something that I think about and I sort of try to talk about quite a bit, which is there's a lot of people in this world at the moment that think that they're on the right side of things because they're, and I'm not saying this entirely in the American sense, but they're progressive. And it's like, progress isn't always good. Progress can be bad. Progress in the last 150 or so years has been real bad. You know, the Industrial Revolution and its consequences. like the nuclear bomb never had to be designed. There's no reason that we needed to do that. Like the limitless power source was really cool, but they didn't even do a nuclear reactor until they were like, let's blow something up instead.
Yeah.
You know, we kind of unlocked a bad path of technology. You know, we're so dependent on oil, and that oil comes from, you know, very few people. And so these people are making a ton of money. We kind of, it's like, again, I'm going to take this back to video games because I'm a nerd, but it's like if you're playing a game, sometimes
Sorry.
there's like oh, you're all good. Sometimes there's skill trees that are just fucking useless. Sometimes there's, you know, like one of my favorite games is Diablo 2. There are well specced out builds for that game because if you play the wrong build, you're not going to fucking win. But like, it's like we went down this path of skills of like, okay, we can blow things up really well now. We can deliver nuclear missiles across continents. But like, can we feed everybody in the country? Apparently not.
Right.
Can we, you know, and I'm not like a fucking commie. I just think it's silly that we have the technology, but we don't use it. Like nuclear power, we have the ability to make essentially limitless energy for very low cost. We have modern technology that would make nuclear like energy like 100 times safer than anything else on the planet. I guess besides like solar, you can't really get hurt putting in solar panels. I hope not, anyways. But yeah, it's like we kind of just keep going down this weird path of like, we're going to develop this thing, we're going to develop this thing, and they stack. You know, we have more bombs and jets and drones for killing people in this country than we do like ventilators, I think, for people that are sick in a hospital. Why do we need all that many things to kill people when we have the technology to save them? It's this weird thing that I just don't understand it.
Mm-hmm.
I guess the idea is that when you reduce it like that, it's the idea that there's like some conscious guiding force, but there's not really. It's just like the collective of a probably 100 or 200 people who want a lot of money and that decided, I'm going to start a defense contracting company and I'm going to get the government to pay me to do things, and we're going to go to war for the next 60 years. And yeah, it's just really weird.
Yeah, well, the like the whole problem of not being able to coexist, right? Like the reason for war in the first place, and like the idea that, oh, like we've run out of resources, so let's go take theirs, or, you know, there's not enough room in this town for the two of us kind of mentality. You know, I think it's again, it's a byproduct of like our agricultural political system, where as soon as we broke away from our natural lifestyle, I hate to imply that we somehow like overextended our carrying capacity, because I don't think that's exactly the right way to say it in terms of like there are too many people. Like, I don't believe that. I just think that we're doing it inefficiently. Like, you know, it's why I'm such a proponent of gardening and like homesteading, and, you know, like there's so much productive capacity on this earth, and we have the natural inclination to be gardeners, to be, you know, to do animal husbandry, and to, you know, produce our own food in a regenerative and sort of, you know, forgive me, sustainable way. But
yeah,
we choose to kind of do it the cheap, fast, easy way instead. And, you know, it's like you were getting at, we've been developing technology without necessarily considering if it's the right technology. You know, we're dumping tons and tons of research and money and resources into growing more corn, instead of like, maybe we should try to grow less corn, right? Like progress for progress's sake is not very good.
Progress.
Right. Like it's is it progress if you keep running like off the edge of the cliff, or should you maybe stop and take a couple steps backwards and look around? So yeah, like I think that's why I talk about permaculture all the time, is just because, you know, I look around, I see all these fucking yards, all these lawns, and I'm like, dude, let's have more chickens and more fruit trees, and, you know, let's grow something productive. And I'm not trying to rag on like capitalism. I enjoyed your chat with Connor, with talking about the misconceptions of capitalism, because I think like capitalism is a good analogy for sort of anarchism in economic terms. The problem with the system we have now is that it is not a free market. It is a corporatocracy, oligarchy, whatever. It's very much managed by a small group of people in power. And a lot of these things that are solutions for the problems would take off and gain more steam if that corporatocracy was not in the picture, right? Like, it's not capitalism's fault that all these fucking assholes game the system to their benefit, right? That's by nature of the state, not the free market.
Yeah. And I think at some point in that episode, I said something about, basically, this might have been a thought I had afterwards, but really capitalism, and socialism, and to a lesser extent communism, were all developed around the same time, which is the Industrial Revolution. So they're Industrial Revolution era thoughts. There's no reason why we have to keep thinking the same way after 150 years. There is absolutely a better way to do things. We just don't do it. We're not exactly capitalist. We're not exactly socialist. We're not exactly communist. We're kind of a mixture. Depending on how much money you have, depends on, like if you're super rich, you're absolutely socialist because you're going to get bailouts. You're going to get you're going to get a bunch of free shit to promote things. It's weird how rich people live on easy mode. They always say like, "Oh, it's so stressful." It's like, I'll take your stress.
Yeah. Well, the only people that don't get like welfare are the people in the middle. If you're poor, you get welfare, and if you're rich, you get welfare. But if you're in the middle, you're on your own.
And the middle has an expanding goalpost, but it's all squeezing people out of it at the same time. The goalpost for being in the middle is what I mean by that is the way inflation is working is lowering the definition of how much money you have to be middle class. At this point, middle class is like $30,000 a year because everything is so fucking expensive that everybody under you is now fucking poor, in poverty. Starting out like, okay, I have a little bit of money for food, middle class. At least that's the way I kind of see it. It's like the goalpost is changing to be like to include people that would have been poor, fucking 10 years ago. But now it's like, oh, I'm not starving or I'm not going on welfare. That's middle class, like like you were saying. Just being able to keep your head out of the water a little bit pretty much makes you a fucking middle class at this point. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, well, if you want to keep the donkey pulling along, you got to dangle that carrot right out in front of its nose,
Sure, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, a hamster on the wheel. That's what they want us to be.
Yeah. I hope my rambles have been making a bit of sense at least. I know sometimes I'll re-listen to an episode and I'll be like, why did I include this bit? I could have cut that. It would have made more sense. But
no, it makes sense to me, man.
It's like all these people that are like, oh, we need to go colonize Mars, or we're going to go, we live on a perfect machine that recycles everything for us. Water, air, food. We have the perfect, there's enough space on this planet. Like you were saying, overpopulation is another fear porn thing. It's not like the earth can't handle people. It's a planet. It's fine. The problem is the way they concentrate themselves and consume resources from other areas. So basically population centers consuming the resources of the rural areas. That's what tarnishes the fucking ecosystem, like growing more corn to ship to some other country and importing all of our food for some reason when we can just grow our food here more sustainably. We don't need to spray fucking glyphosate all over everything and fuck up our groundwater. We could just grow crops that we eat here and it'll be fine. But no, that's not the way we do things. We don't have the technology apparently to just grow food. It's not like we've been doing it forever, like you were saying. But Yeah, the space race people they really piss me the fuck off because, like, why would you want to leave this planet, dude? It's perfect. It's literally perfect. I mean, it's fucked up some of the things that grow here, like dolphins. Dolphins are fucked up, but you don't have to deal with them.
What do you mean they're fucked up? I always like dolphins.
Dude, dolphins are not nice. They'll like drown. They get for some reason they get to be the nice ones, and sharks are the bad guys. They bully the shit out of like sharks, dude. They'll drown people, they'll drown sharks, they'll drown things. They'll just drown shit for fun. They'll fucking they rape. Dolphins rape. Did you know that?
Yeah, no, I didn't.
No, dude, they are fucked up. Like,
I mean, I think a lot of animals rape, if we're being fair, but
no, like they will they will bite the head off a fish and fuck it. Like, it's messed up, dude.
Whoa, weird.
Yeah. No, dolphins are like actually demons. Like, I think that they're probably one of Earth's biggest punishments for us. Like, we're just stuck here with these sociopathic, very intelligent creatures. And if we get too close to the water, like we try to water world with them, they're going to just fucking commit war against us.
I know people,
unchill creatures.
People are trying to like decipher dolphin language, right? And whale language and, you know, all that shit. Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe we don't want to know. Maybe it would be just too disturbing to even know what's
one of the secrets. One of the secrets you don't want to find out, dude, is what the dolphins are saying. They're probably like, "Oh, I'm going to eat the fucking babies. Look at that baby that from this exhibit. Oh my god, I'm going to eat that motherfucker." Yeah, we're just lucky we can't understand them.
You know that song? I think it's by what's her name? Iris Dement. Is that her name or something like that? It's Let the Mystery Be. It's a good song. It's a good song. It was the sort of opening track to that show, The Leftovers. If you ever watched that. And basically the whole premise is like, oh, here, let me look up the lyrics real quick because it's right on the money for what we're talking about.
Is it about how dolphins are fucked?
No, it's about letting the mystery be. Here. Iris Dement, I was right. It says, everybody's wondering what and where they all came from. Everybody's worrying about where they're going to go when the whole thing's done. But no one knows for certain, so it's all the same to me. I think I'll just let the mystery be. It's like pretty fucking on the money, dude. Like, yeah, we can wonder all day like where and what we came from. But in the practical sense, maybe it's best to just let it lie. Like,
yeah,
you know, I think you and I might be similar in that we're very analytical. Like, we want to understand things. That's what led us to this point and to these concepts. But at a certain point, you can only understand it so well, right?
Yeah. Well, it's like the whole like, oh, a circle doesn't exist thing. That's all nice and like being, what is the word here? Being, I guess, like philosophical is fun to some degree. But at a certain point, I need practicality. What is not believing in circles going to do for me? Like, I can just build a circle garden, plot and be like, oh, there's a fucking circle. Now there's my plants. There's like a level to things.
The practical knowledge of that is just the importance of spirals, if you ask me. So like,
okay,
literally in terms of gardening, you can either do a circle or you can stretch that out into a 3-dimensional spiral. They call it like an herb spiral where it goes up, sort of like a pyramid, if you will. And then you gain surface area, you gain microclimates that you can grow, different things on the southern side as you can on the northern side, because they're going to get different amounts of sunlight. And so I don't know, man, like there is a practical implication to that. That's why I think like patterns and mathematics and things like that are such interesting topics. But yeah,
I don't remember what it's called, but it's like basically this dude had a giant PVC pipe and he just kind of cut essentially like that, like you were saying, like spirals, and he was growing plants out of it like that. Is that what is that, hydroponic? Maybe remember.
He's probably doing some form of vertical hydroponics or whatever. Yeah.
No, so that's so. But I guess what I mean to say is like, not like at the end of the day, I'm still going to put my tire on my truck, right? Like that's a circle.
Mm-hmm.
I don't.
Yeah.
The mathematical whatever circles don't exist. Fine, I don't care. Putting my tire on my truck so I can get down the road. Sometimes I think not like us because we're not like statesmen, but sometimes I think there's at least back in like ancient Greek times, there's so much focus on these weird like philosophical things where they could have been just fixing their shitty broken societies, which I think we have now, but it's not even deep philosophical questions. It's like, do men have vaginas sometimes, or and that's our deep philosophical question of the time, and that's what distracts us from fixing the problems of our society.
Yeah.
But I did pull up a list of dolphins are fucked up facts. We got number 1, they gang rape females. Number 2, they will rape humans apparently, which is pretty cool.
Uh-huh.
Number 3, they kill babies of other species.
Wow.
They kill their own babies. They don't sleep. Jesus Christ. They can stay awake for 5 days straight with no loss of mental acuity. Dolphins are voracious predators. They like to screw with other animals just for the lulz. They just like torture things. Yeah, this one's a baby shark being used as a volleyball. And they have a bunch of STDs.
Oh, great. So if you do happen to get raped by one, chances are you're going home with something.
If I get raped by a dolphin, I'm taking that with me to the grave.
Yeah, tell no one ever.
No. The doctor's going to be like, oh, this is an unseen STD. I'll be like, just fucking kill me, dude. This is not getting out. I'm not patient 0 for AIDS 2. It's not
sir, we can just give you penicillin. Nope. It's been done. Just get it over with. You got to go to Canada for that.
I don't want them to. Yeah.
If you want that kind of medical care. Yeah.
Oh, you mean?
Well, see, that's the. Yeah. Medically assisted suicide, we'll call it. MAID. They call it MAID up there. Medical assistance in dying. Makes it sound really nice. But dude, see, like that is a perfect WTF forum topic. If you showed up and you're like, all right, tonight we're talking dolphins, y'all. Like, come on. You know,
I thought we were just trying to do current news. That's why I try not to talk about other things on there.
Oh no, dude. I want it to be more open than that. I think it's just been easy to fall back on like news topics, but it's more fun if we have like a variety, you know, like
sure.
Yeah.
That's
why I kept bringing in like the based or bogus like Steven Seagal shit, because it's like that's not really news. That's just bizarre and hilarious and fucked up and worth.
But what is funny is I saw that in the news. Like I opened my phone and I saw that in the news and it was like, oh, okay. But yeah, that's a fair point.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I really think that you got something, you know, like we used to have victory gardens in this country and now we just keep fucking growing corn. And it's like, why?
Right.
Well, you know,
because it's subsidized. Because it's subsidized,
True.
Man. If you subsidize something, you'll get more of it. You know, and really, if you break it down, like grain has always been sort of the fundamental currency of modern society.
Civilization,
like,
fair.
Yeah. So like it's kind of more because it's a convenient commodity that can be stored and transported and converted into value-added products, as they would call them, even though it's not a very valuable thing, you know, like corn syrup. But yeah, dude, it's the same as it was in like, you know, 3,000-4,000 years ago, Mesopotamia, like the rise and fall of these grain-based civilizations. It's a boom and bust. And yeah, I think there's always been like the resilient types, the hill folk, the barbarians, if you will, that never prescribed to that system, that make it through the fall of any civilization. So yeah, that's the attitude we got to represent, I think, is that
for sure,
you know, rogue,
that rugged,
the rogue class of survivors, right?
Yeah. Well, and it's just silly because, you know, now that you bring it up, there's no need for us to allocate grain like that. I mean, we have access to every crop on the planet now. Anything that grows on this planet could be in my backyard, hypothetically, if the conditions are right.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really silly to think, oh, we're just going to keep growing grain like it's fucking Mesopotamia. Like, you could grow anything. We have the technology, but it's just not, I don't know, profitable, I guess. It's weird.
It's not easily controlled and mechanized, and like I said, a lot of it has to do with the storability and shippability. That's why grain was always the sort of crop of choice, if you will, of booming civilization.
Sure,
and it was the original tax was on grain. It's like, we're going to take 20% of your grain, sort of on the promise that we'll give it back if we have famine in future years, but really it was just a tax,
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, man, I mean, we've been going for 2 hours as of 30 seconds ago. I guess if you have any like final ideas, thoughts, dreams, goals, plugs, whatever you want to say, man.
Well, I will say, trying to switch gears a little bit more for the show. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
not literally, because I haven't done anything on the show for a long time for my show.
Yeah.
But my new goal is to kind of, first of all, like, it's Call to Liberty. We're going to try and call people, in, like I said, spread that
Mm-hmm.
message, get a few people to hit me up on Instagram every couple of months and say, hey, you made a couple of good points. That's all I care about, really.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a few more people than a few. But also, man, I've been thinking really hard about this. Like I said, I studied geography, and I've got the guy who made my logo is from Australia. He wants to come on and do something. I'm like, all right. His name's Becoming Ungovernable, by the way. He's a really fucking good artist.
Yeah, I
So
follow
there's
him.
that.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. I got this
Yeah.
guy who texted me the other day. He's from Canada, and it's like, I think I'm going to get a little geography segment going on here, man. We're going to hear about the political climate of Canada from the view of an
Mm-hmm.
anarchist or something. We're going to hear about the, Australia. There's a couple other fellas I'm blanking on the names of now, and I feel bad for it. But those were just the two most striking, because I was like, these governments are totalitarian in our eyes. Like, how are the people
Mm-hmm.
that think like me doing over there? And I
Mm-hmm.
want to hear about it. There is a couple other people, I believe, from different parts of the world that did message me, and I will figure that out. But it's like, apart from calling people to liberty, we might get a little like geography lesson and learn about the political climate of these weird other places, which I'm pretty stoked for. I've got a backlog of fucking guests I have to record with. Unfortunately, I'm a shitty host.
Yeah, well, kick it into gear, man. No pressure or nothing, whatever. But
no pressure.
yeah, I think your show's like got legs. You joke that you only have 5 episodes. I got 141, but like, I'm the type of dude that just like throws it all at the wall and sees what sticks. Like, there's nothing wrong with sort of putting out less content, as long as you're just like really intentional about what content you're doing and like why you're doing it. Fuck it, man. Like, do 5 episodes a year if you want to. I don't give a shit. But like, I think your show's cool. Every episode's got like some cool shit in it, and I figure the more you do, the better they'll get.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a matter of practicing that creative bone, where I think of something and I write it down. And then the other thing is, like, I've made 7 or 8 episodes, but I'll like reflect on them and I'll listen, and because I don't want to put something out that's bad or not as thought out as I think it should be. And so that's why I've deleted some episodes. And it's just like, I don't want to put something out that's not good. I want to make sure that it has this quality to it that somebody's going to say, hey, Luke, I listened to this episode, is pretty good. I mean, that's the whole reason I even met you guys, was that me and Free and Poor, like, I saw his account, I saw his podcast link in the bio, and I was at work. I was like, oh, I need to listen to something new anyways. I popped it on. I was like, this is awesome. I sent him a follow and a message. I said, hey, I like your show. He did the same for me. And, if I had a shitty episode out there and he decided, oh, I'm going to listen to this, maybe we wouldn't have been good friends. Maybe I wouldn't be here talking with you today. So it's a matter of just trying to be more proud of what I do, I guess. Like, I don't want to put something out that's shitty. And at the same time, I do owe people that do want to listen to the show to put out more content, because it is kind of kind of a double-edged sword of like, I'm worried that if I start trying to put like time to it, I'm going to not be putting out the quality, but I do need to be putting out more stuff. So
sure. Yeah. There's a fine line. Like when it feels forced, that's usually not a good thing, right?
Yeah.
You know, I joke that I like throw it all at the wall and see what sticks. You know, there's certainly, if I went back and looked, like, I'm sure there's some episodes that are out there of mine that I would cringe at, but like, I'd like to think at least I've tried to be authentic and just honest. And like, you know, if I ever put an episode out, it's because at least in that moment at that time, it felt like the right thing. But you know, I'm sure there's some episodes I would absolutely cringe at. So I can respect your your strategy. You know, sometimes you know more isn't better, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
but I mean, I
well,
like
cool,
your
man.
show. I've been listening. I've been trying to get through the backlog, so I actually haven't listened to the new episodes. I've been listening to the old ones, except for that one that you did with the Outlaws. The Outlaws one was really good. I liked it.
Yeah, that was a fun one, man. Yeah,
live from the bar. The only thing I wish is that you edited a couple of the snippets, because I was listening at work and then like a car would drive by on the mic and fucking deafen me, and I was like,
yeah. It was
real. It was authentic.
I'm not very good at like the noise production side of things, you know, like partly because I'm like half deaf. So like when I'm listening, doing my editing, I might not, you know, and it comes through different on different types of headphones and stuff. But I feel you, yeah, like some of those live recordings,
that's what I like about it. It's live. It's raw. You know what I mean?
Well, and that's, you know, that's Indianapolis, man. There's a lot of like motorcycles and muscle cars, and you know, I kind of dig when there's like a badass V8 cruising past, and it, you know, that's Indiana, that's Indianapolis, homie. Like rock that's on. Sweet. Yeah.
I appreciate you having me on. I feel like at the beginning, at least, I was still pretty tired, so I apologize if I was a little incoherent. But
no, not at all, man.
Try to put my dunce cap on the right way later on. You know what I mean? As I wake up a little more.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, no, I appreciate it. I appreciate it a lot, man. I think it was a good conversation. I enjoyed myself. Yeah, and I don't know. I guess that's that, brother. I'll ask you this. You said you got a new job, didn't you?
Oh yeah, dude. You know what the word glazier means?
No.
Like the job title? Okay. Guy who installs glass.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's actually looking up, dude. It's looking like it's going to be a pretty sweet gig. I got to put in my 2 weeks at the current job, and then I'll start working as a glazier.
Sweet, man. So is that going to be like up high doing big buildings, or mostly
a little bit I asked around. I asked the guy who owns the company. He said, you know, we're going to do a little bit of everything. And I was like, that's perfect.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's a trade, you know.
Yeah, it's like, a trade. And he brought up a good point. He was like, he said everything has a window. Everything has windows.
Fuck yeah.
So yeah, any building.
Same reason, like you got a lot of people doing like being electrical linemen. Like every building's got power, and that power has to be transmitted through power lines. Somebody's got to put them up and fix them.
Yep.
You know, windows, doors. I knew a guy that just does doors. Like, yeah.
It's looking up, dude. It's looking pretty sweet, and I'll have a better schedule. So right now I work nights, which is why I look all disheveled all the fucking time. This will be like a regular like morning to afternoon gig, and I'll have my nights free to be doing other shit like recording episodes.
Right. Yeah, and just get you back onto a normal human circadian rhythm, right?
Yeah, that's for sure. I don't know if you can tell, but I have like bags under my eyes all the time.
Yeah, well, luckily I'm looking at you on like a little tiny 1 by 2 inch square, so I didn't notice. You're cool.
Oh, fair. Good.
Awesome, man. Well, I think that'll do it. But yeah, we'll talk again soon, and I appreciate you coming on the show.
I appreciate you inviting me, bro.
Absolutely.
It was a really good time.
All right. Peace out, y'all.